Hello everyone, welcome to lecture 10 and 11. In our last lecture about culture of poverty, culture of sustainability, we talk about culture, meaning how groups of people actually behave in a certain manner, either as they have always known or as a response to poverty and discrimination. But today we will talk about social positions of individuals, such as race and gender, in affecting one's conditions or one's experience. So when you think about it, it is quite logical to deduce that every person with different gender, race, nationality, age, or even clothing and appearance or skin tone will actually experience the world quite differently. But this is very easy to forget, to ignore, or even deny because how will we ever know we have always lived as ourselves, lived in our own body? It is rarely that we get to be in, not rarely, it's impossible for us to be in someone else's body to walk around the world. And also, we always tend to mingle with people who have similar experience, or we talk about things that we think they are overlapping among ourselves. For example, you probably won't complain about menstrual pain to a male friends. But if you have the experience of traveling to different societies, you might have the chance to be reminded of this. Right, so I want to show you my own personal experience in this because I travel a lot in my 20s. So let me pull up the slides. Okay, so this is me, right? This is me somewhere in my mid 20s. And so I was relatively tan. This picture was taken in Thailand. So I look more or less like that, right? When I was traveling a lot. So, and I wanted to show you that what are the different experiences that I have been through during this travel experience, right? So for example, when I was in Berlin airport, the custom officers held my Malaysian passport and he looked at it again and again and asked me frankly quite stupid questions. He asked me about things on my passport, like what is my date of birth, what is my hometown. I guess he was trying to check that I'm not using a fake passport. But in the same country, in Germany, right before I went to that airport, I was actually in a festival in Germany. And then I was hanging around with some German friends. And they were all trying to bring me to this music street festival, which was really common in summer in Germany. And they were trying to bring some alcohol into the venue, which is not allowed. So what they did was they opened my backpack and they just put all the alcohol into my backpack and say to me that the security guard will never check you, will never check your bag, but they will definitely check us. So us means the German young kids who are mostly Caucasian white German. And then I say, okay, I guess I don't have too much to lose because the worst is just that I don't get to go into the venue. So I went along with them. All of us go together. They don't have any backpacks. Only I had a backpack because I was a backpacker anyway. So we just passed through right in front of the security guard into the venue, and they were right. Like nobody was trying to stop me or check my bag, right? So maybe the way I looks like someone who will never bring alcohol into a music festival. And then a picture on your bottom right is actually a picture in Malaysia where we have this roadside mamak stall. We can stay there overnight to eat and drink. And it's pretty common for me, for a person who look like me because I'm a Malaysian, to sit there and talk until late night. But this might not be appropriate for some countries. For a girl of my age to stay by the roadside until late night. And then this is a metro station in Tokyo, Japan. Um, and this is really funny because I was studying in Japan in the United Nations University from 2011 to 2013. So when my skin tone was fair, I looked pretty much like a Japanese. So I never had any problem in the first year of my stay in Japan. And then after that, after 1 year of my study, I went to Sri Lanka to do my master research. And I spent like 7 weeks there in a village. And I got really, really tan because I was walking around under the tropical sun. And when I came back, I went to meet one friend in a metro station. And this friend is a Japanese. And I was just waiting there, and I was really dressing sort of, you can even say conservatively. I wear a really long skirt and a t-shirt and a loose t-shirt sort of. And then there was this one Japanese policeman who approached me and asked for my ID, and that had never happened before. So I showed him my ID, and he was looking at the ID over and over again, and he just didn't want to go away from me. And I was just wondering, like, what do you want to do? You either call the phone number in the ID to verify my identity, or I don't know, do whatever. But then right after my friend who is a Japanese arrived, and he verified with her that I'm her friend, he let me go, right? We reflected upon this incident, and we think that, okay, my conclusion is it is very probable that the Japanese policeman actually think that I'm a prostitute who hang around in metro station and look for clients, right? That's why he let me go right after my friend, who is a Japanese girl, came and picked me up. Because otherwise he could have taken other kind of actions, right? If he's suspicious of me about anything else. So and you can see how the same me, just with a different skin tone, experiencing different things in the same place. So the point of all these stories is, of course, partly to share a little bit more about myself with you, but also to tell you that different bodies experience different things in the world. And more accurately, we have different experience with different social positions. So what do I mean by social positions here? So social positions are positions in relation to wider social norms and institutions. For example, in a German airport, I will be associated with an illegal migrant, perhaps, but not in other places. So social positions can change in different settings, but not so much of culture. And that is the process of internalization and socializations of one's social position, meaning the acceptance and the learning of the behavior and norm of a person at one's social position, right? So, for example, you might see that in some culture, the women or the younger people are not used to speaking in public. They are not used to expressing their opinions, their wants in a public setting. And I use a sort of funny contrasting examples, just as someone is not used to squatting toilets. So if you are not used to speaking in public, you don't learn that this is an appropriate or a necessary behavior, you just end up not doing it well. It's the same. If you never use a squatting toilet, you just can't use a squatting toilet well. So I had this discussion with my Western European friends, and I feel that it's interesting. That's something I take for granted as a person who grew up in a house with squatting toilets, that she found it really difficult to use squatting toilets. And also, of course, people who are used to squatting toilet might not use the sitting toilet appropriately, right? So my point is just to say that we become something that we were socialized into, and we internalize those norms and those so-called appropriate behaviors. So I want to I want to illustrate this with the case of women farmers in India. So I share with you an article online about how farmer suicides in India are affecting women. Um, And so I want to tell you a little bit about the context here. So, as in many parts of the world, that is mass rural to urban migrations. And in South Asia, a lot of these migrations are actually by young men, at least more, much more than by women. So they migrate to the city, but they have fields remaining in their villages. So what happens is the women take over the jobs of attending to this agricultural work. So you have a feminization of agriculture, which is a phenomenon that has been observed by many scholars. And also another context here is there has been increasing incidence of farmer suicides in India. The reason is because a lot of the farmers they cannot repay their debt, especially after crop failure, because they have to pay a lot for agriculture inputs in advance as a result of modernization of agriculture. They have to pay for the pesticides, for the herbicides, for the seeds, um, and other kinds of necessity to plant their field. And when their crops fail, they cannot repay it. So a lot of them choose to commit suicide. And so what are the implications or what are the impacts of all this to women's farmers in India? So number one, women do not have land titles or do not know that they have, and thus no access to loans and other facilities. So women who are doing agriculture do not have the same access to all kinds of um, associated amenities that comes with male farmers, or at least farmers with land titles. I mean, this is the same with the landless people, right? Who are the tenant farmers. They equally do not have access to this kind of facilities. And women who committed suicides, so they are also women farmers, and who committed suicide due to debt and crop failures will not be recognized as farmers, not in the statistics, right? Usually, the statistics always recognize the men as the farmers. So the women farmers who committed suicide are not counted in the farmer suicides statistics, and of course not being compensated. And women after their husband's suicides face increased burden because they have to repay the debt. And a lot of them also face family abuse and violence because widows are stigmatized in some parts of South Asia, and usually the husband family would try to get rid of the widow or by taking away all the properties that belonged to her husband before. Women continue to be paid less in agricultural work. So women who have to pay off the debt, who leave after their husband committed suicide, they have to go and work in the agricultural field, mostly as agricultural laborer, because most likely the husband family will not allow her to claim any titles or rights to the land of her husband. So, and as an agricultural laborer, they continue to be paid less. There's a gender wage gap there. And then agricultural work has also, the availability of it has also been affected by climate change. So women are really facing a lot of difficulties here. According to the World Bank blog, despite the fact that women represent about half of the global population and produce the majority of global food supply, performing 60 to 80% of the agricultural work in developing countries, women own less than 20% of land worldwide. And this is the last slide of this part of the lecture. So after this lecture, I will direct you to a short video about Nigeria's women's farmers. So I want you to watch that video and keep these questions in mind and try to answer it after watching that video. So basically the questions I'm posting here is, from the readings and videos, what are the similarities in issues faced by women farmers in South Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa? And do you think gender issues are universal? Why and why not? So take some time to think about these questions, write down your comments somewhere, and this can be a resource for your reflections and also discussion. Okay, thank you very much.